Welcome to the TNC Random Fandom Podcast. We are here to have fun and talk all things pop culture, collecting, and nerd culture in general. Make sure you join the conversation during our live stream with our most excellent hosts, Craig Borden and Tommy Mock. Let the shenanigans begin.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TNC Random Fandom. I am your host, Craig Borden, and with me, the most recent visitor of Universal Studios in Los Angeles, or, ballpark area. Tommy Mock.
Hollywood, it's Los Angeles.
Hollywood.
Hey, how you doing? Hi. Hey,
Close.
what's going on, Craig? Man, what's going on? It feels like it's been, a week since we talked last time, so usually that's how it goes.
We had all things fun talking, living in a van down by the river last week with Chris Farley.
Yep.
Fun, so
Yep.
the
enjoyed
latest
that.
Icon series. That was a good night.
So,
but anyway, Tommy, tonight we're going to talk all things Universal Studios, and we're going to have fun talking about the theme parks and what's going on at the theme parks, especially all the new stuff that we've been reading about and whatnot, and have a first-hand account of some of it so far. But to that point, you sound like you were about to say something before I stepped on you there.
No, by all means. I was just going to introduce our guest, who is no stranger to our show, who probably is going to end up with a show, an icon show on our podcast, because he is, again, he's a legend in my own, the way I look at it. But you know what? Let's just bring him up. Gene Magee, in the place to be, which is this podcast right now. How's it going, Gene?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Thanks for that introduction. That was pretty good. Hopefully I could stand up to that intro.
Well, no.
Well, we know we already see you on TV, so you got the shirt ready for it perfectly.
Got that.
Obviously, you were on the floor with Tommy and had a great time doing that with in Ireland with Rob Lowe hosting. So
yes, and I have another show. Don't forget, a surprise.
Right. Yep.
Surprise.
Tomorrow.
So, real quick, before he goes, I wanted to do this because before we go into Universal Studios, which is where this gentleman works, I wanted to say, you know what, Gene, tell us what is going on in your world right now.
All right. So, yes, surprise. Starting tomorrow. There's going to be a show on the Game Show Network called Bingo Blitz with host Valerie Bertinelli, and I am one of the contestants. But the catch is, I don't know which episode is mine. They actually didn't. I've reached out to all my points of contact. It's been radio silence, but it starts tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. at Game Show Network, and that's all I know. So I could be on tomorrow, or who knows. But I will be on that show, and I'll leave it at that. So no spoilers, but I'm happy with my performance.
I gotta say, I was at my mother-in-law's house last night, and we were, sitting around having pizza and visiting, and she had the Game Show Network on, and they did a promo for it. I go, I think that's the game show that Gene is going to be on.
Yes, they run promos constantly. The bottom right corner of these game shows, you'll see Bingo Blitz 7:30, and like every fourth commercial seems to be Bingo Blitz. I was featured on the initial social media campaign, which I didn't even know about. Somebody on Reddit, a random Redditor, said, "Hey, I think I saw you on a commercial for a game show." And I'm like, "Really?" And they sent me the Instagram link, and I'm like, "Hey, well, I'm glad." Yeah, that's me, But so as Tommy knows, when the floor was airing, like the Fox Network reached out to us, and they gave us all these promo clips and videos and pictures, not to post until the day of or day after, or when the show airs and the day after it airs. But we got all this promo material, but since Game Show Network seems to be a smaller operation, and there was no photographer there anyway, but I haven't heard anything since we filmed the show at the end of October. Fun fact, when I got the congratulations, you're going to be on Bingo Blitz, we were hunkering down for the hurricane here in Orlando. For that last back in October, that crazy hurricane. So it was literally descending on us as I'm getting the congratulations, you're gonna be going, to Atlanta, and you can be on the show. And I'm like, thanks. I didn't let on that. I mean, I've been through a bunch of hurricanes that made like a baker's
That's the
dozen.
part of Florida, unfortunately.
But it was just, part of it. But yeah, so I was getting ready to, get ready for a hurricane as I got the good news about being on Bingo Blitz. Was shot in Fayetteville, Georgia, the town of Trilith, where they film a lot of Marvel movies. So I was directly across the street from the soundstage where they do like 90% of the Marvel Disney Plus TV series. But while I was there, they were actually filming live action Moana. That was going on across the street from us.
You stumble onto the rock, or did he hit you? One or the other.
He was so yeah, he was there, and the reason why I know that because there's this restaurant called the Barley Garden in the town of Trilith. It's this small town in the middle of the woods where it seems like almost everybody there is there filming or in support. It's like basically Little Hollywood, 45 minutes outside of Atlanta in the middle of the woods. But I was at this bar having a margarita, and this guy pulled up next to me, a guy named Frank from LA. He's a set designer, and he was working on live action Moana. But he was like kind of matter of fact about it because it's his job. He's been doing it for years. Then he's like, yeah, we're going to do Moana. We got this Hawaii set that we put together. But I've been here for like 5-6 months. I can't wait to get back home to LA, and the production is going to Hawaii, but I'm going home. He was just so matter of fact. And I was like, wait a minute, you're doing this movie with one of the biggest movie stars. And to him, it was literally just a Tuesday. And I'm like, yeah, he's like, what about you? I'm like, yeah, I just did a game show with Valerie Bertinelli. He's like, what? I love that. I watch One Day at a Time. Oh my goodness.
That's what nerded him out?
He was so impressed with the game show. And I'm just like, you have the biggest movie star ever. And I did a game show with, I mean, she's amazing and all that, but not A-list like Rock. But to him, Valerie Bertinelli was, on him and his wife's bucket list to meet. And I'm like, she's literally down the street there, and I want to meet The Rock. I mean, he's the biggest. So it was a cool mutual admiration of us pointing at each other. You're awesome. No, you're awesome. So
around that time frame is when he turned John Cena. Maybe you didn't want to meet The Rock at that time.
Yeah, that
bad guy went heel.
The heel turn. Yeah, you sure did. That was an interesting time, but we didn't see him there. But the guy did say that they did film with him that day. I was there, and he was just like, yeah, he's like, I just helped design sets or put, a set decorator, whatever they call it, production designer. That's what it was. So yeah, so that was end of October, and now tomorrow is the official air date for Bingo Blitz, Game Show Network, 7:30.
Awesome. Be there or be square party people. Just saying.
Yes. Yeah, Bingo Blitz. So I can't wait for you guys to see it.
No, wait. Trust me, we're gonna watch because I'm gonna be like, first of all, you already know Karen's a fan of yours, so
Yes.
So she says hi. She's probably watching or listening right now. Hopefully, she is. She would be downstairs. I try to get her on camera all the time, but she won't come on. So.
Oh yeah.
I get camera bad.
So the reason why you're here.
Yes.
Let's talk Universal Studios now.
My favorite.
Going back a year ago, it was around my birth, actually at my birthday. As a matter of fact, my birthday's coming up again.
Here we go. Recently. One birthday a year. Good for you.
Yep.
You live longer.
And this gentleman here, Craig, was gracious enough to get us passes to the park, and we put on any extra add-ons ourselves, but he got us to the park, and we had a blast. Now, and I'm not trying to put my wife on the spotlight, but she's not a fan of like heavy duty rides and stuff like that. Like she's on a roller coaster, but she did a lot.
My wife's the same.
She did a lot of research on the rides, especially the Harry Potter rides, to the point that she actually she had never seen the movies, so we sat and watched all of the movies together, and it sparked an interest. So we looked at the rides that they have right now. We're Escape from Gringotts,
Yes.
And what's the other one that's in Hogwarts Castle? What's that one?
Oh yeah, Forbidden Journey. That's Hogwarts
The Forbidden
Castle.
Journey.
Forbidden Journey. Yep.
I didn't get a chance to go on Hagrid's.
Okay.
I did the Flight of the Hippogriff at Hollywood Studios.
I didn't know they had that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she absolutely loved those rides. Fantastic. And so we got you here because you work for Universal Studios Orlando, and they just have this new park that's just opening up. Now, first and foremost, before we talk about
right
this
into the hard part here, Tommy. Jeez, you didn't want to pace up what's your current favorite ride? Or
I want to say this is that because I had an opportunity to ride on some of the old rides that are actually going to be leaving soon, but I really want to dig deep into the new Epic Adventures. So where is it on the property? Because I know that you have Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios are literally right next to each other, and you can go into either gate depending on who you got a ticket for, or unless you got like an island hopper pass. Where is new Island of Adventure in that vicinity?
So yeah, the Epic Universe, the entire park itself is not on. So now it's separate from the Universal property. We're calling them the legacy parks, Universal Studios and Islands. They're the legacy parks, along with the property that is City Walk and all the resort hotels. The property of Epic Universe is actually about 15 minutes down the road from. It's not even nowhere near. I mean, the whole Epic Universe is hundreds and hundreds of acres of property that Universal. It's down the street, and they will eventually have like buses going there. But at the moment, it's in technical rehearsal, so we just drive there. So if you're familiar with the layout of Orlando, especially in the theme park area, you'll know an area called International Drive or I Drive, like the touristy spots, all the hotels and restaurants, basically like the Vegas Strip without the casinos. And towards the end of that is the convention center. So on the other side of the convention center is Epic Universe. So it's like I said, hundreds and hundreds of acres. So they can kind of massive playground to kind of do what they want on all this acreage of land. And man, yeah, they did a number. They knocked it out of the park with Epic Universe and the 3 hotels, the Stella Nova, Terra Nova, which those 2 are open, and Grand Helios, which should open with the park, because the Grand Helios Hotel is in the park. The hotel is in the park. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: Should Disney be scared? Should Disney be scared with what Universal Studios has brought to the table?
So I'll put it like this: like I've worked at all the theme parks. I've been at Universal 22 years, Disney for 8, even SeaWorld for about a year and a half. And they all. Nickelodeon was at Universal, so during that time frame. But no, you're right. But they all have their charm. They all have their thing that they do extremely well. And of course, Disney has been there, before anybody. So they got a giant head start, and they have this massive compound like Disney World. I mean, it's like the size of Manhattan. It's that big. So they're massive. They're giant, and the 4 parks they have: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom, all in their respective rights, are pretty cool. And not to mention, Magic Kingdom being the oldest theme park, been there since the beginning. They have the largest attended theme park in the world yearly, with 20+ million, and they are running on the nostalgia factor because you grew up with it. So they're not known for like innovating, like the latest and greatest. You're not going to Magic Kingdom. You're going there because it reminds you of your childhood. So what I like Universal is doing is they're going to go. What I'm the perception is this is the future of theme parks. Epic Universe, from my opinion, is going to change how you view a theme park experience. So Disney can be Disney. There's nothing we can really do about that. There's just in the zeitgeist of you grew up with it, you know it. This is going to be something that you know and you love.
Mhm.
Epic is like we're gonna challenge how you view theme parks, and we're gonna innovate. So think of innovation, groundbreaking, and just oh, I didn't know you could do that in a theme park. It's like everything I I experienced, whether it was a ride or show, felt like it was the best of its kind.
Oh,
And it
really?
kept topping itself. I would ride a ride, like that was the most amazing ride I just rode in my life. And then I'll go do a show. That's the most amazing show. I've never been like overwhelmed. It's like an embarrassment of riches. I've never been
Yeah.
overwhelmed in a positive sense. Like how much more amazing can things get? And it keeps. I was like everything was my favorite. It's like try to narrow it down. Like, oh, that was good. That's my favorite. Nothing can top that. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, well, good lord. Okay, well, that's amazing. And so it's like each writer showing its own category. It feels like it's like they took what you loved about Universal or theme parks in general, or like a specific ride or element, and they just scaled that up. Like, oh, you love that? Okay, we're gonna make more of that. We're gonna scale this up. So it give you
So
more
they
of what you like.
literally dialed it to 11, kind of like level with everything, just to
They
make
I
the story
did.
spinal
that
tapped it.
Yeah, this one louder than 10. So
it's
yes,
one.
it's one louder than 10. So that's what I feel like they did. They took everything that works with the theme park and just dialed it up. And like, okay, we're gonna give you more what you like. And then we're gonna throw something at you to see, what do you think about like a lot of like little things that you wouldn't even think about
Yeah,
in a theme park.
the attention to details.
The attention to
One video
detail.
I saw for the Nintendo World was you got the little wristband thing on, right? So one guy walked up to a power block and hit it, and then there's coins that started going down the wall, and you can go over and grab them all and collect them. I was like, that who would have thought of something like that? I know you can do that with the technology we have today, but like you
The
said, it's a
future.
little dumb detail that if you weren't paying attention, okay, great, there's a question mark on the wall.
Yes.
Well, who cares?
And
Oh, the right
apparently
man comes over and gets a pot.
apparently it keeps track of your score too. So there's like a game that you can play, and Tommy's seen it because in Hollywood, so we have a similar setup. I think ours might be a little bit bigger than Hollywood, but apparently
Oh,
if
yeah.
you have that power up band in Hollywood, it can also work in Orlando or vice versa.
Perfect.
But apparently there's a game within a game.
Yeah. So that
Hey,
Super
Tommy,
Mario Kart ride, if you had that power band, I think that's what they call
yes,
it. But on the Super Mario Kart ride, you're basically playing a game and you're shooting.
yes,
You got to
the
wait until you
turtle.
pick up the turtle shells and you got to try to hit all the
Turtle
Koopas
shells.
and everything. But if you had that, now you don't have to have that wristband in order to ride the ride, obviously. But
Right.
it's an interactive part of the ride itself, and it was
Extra
it was
immersion
fun.
part.
The extra,
It was
exactly.
And
Oh,
More
they
bang
got
for your buck.
awesome popcorn buckets.
look at that's a popcorn bucket.
It's a popcorn bucket.
Oh
man.
my goodness. Universal and these popcorn
this.
buckets. That is unreal.
And they light up
Once
too.
and
So,
everything.
Oh, come on now.
All
So-
I'm seeing is Tommy has no more money left in his bank account. Did Karen do that too?
Wow.
But
So
that's the whole
I have
point,
to-
right? You have
go
all these
ahead.
new theme parks that, I know you can probably give us a little bit more insight of which worlds are what and what they're really trying to do.
Yes.
Because there's 3 different worlds, correct?
There's so I'm just gonna go down the line before, but there's also
All right.
technically 5 because Celestial Park kind of connects them all.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
so you have Mario. So if you are walking into Epic Universe, if you go to the left, you got Mario's gonna be your first. And then after Mario, we're going clockwise. So you're gonna run into Dark Universe. And then you're gonna run into Helios Hotel.
That's the one I'm
And then the
curious about.
Wizarding World, and then the Isle of Berk, and then Celestial Park connects all of that. So,
Nice.
but
So
I got a
the
quick
videos I've
question
seen,
about
you
that.
kind of like literally a portal into those places is kind of how they
Literally.
actually like show it, right? So you get like that kind of like, you're being blinded, kind of like, and then you get the whole dawning into like Peach's Castle for Nintendo World, right?
Exactly. It's vast but
That's
intimate.
cool.
Yeah, it's
So
really good.
the Helios Hotel, you said, is in the park.
It's at the back of the park.
So now I have to ask this question though: is it obviously they don't let people through the gates? How do they keep people from interacting? I guess because now you feel like you're kind of just stuck in a hotel and you got this theme park. So how does that work?
That's a good question. Like we haven't seen it open yet, so because it hasn't opened. So, but you can see the Helios Hotel. So the assumption is there will be a gate, like a turnstile, at the back of the hotel for you to come to, because you will need a ticket to get into the park. So, but we haven't seen it yet. But that seems to be the consensus because it is on property. But it is interesting. So I remember the whole time, like I'm going there, like first of all, the park doesn't seem that big because the Helios is immediately at the, like you walk into the park and you can see it. It's like, oh, this park isn't like that long. You're like, oh, it's right there. This park didn't seem that big, but you don't realize it's wide. You just don't see it all at once because you said the portals kind of keep everything hidden.
You're kind of like slowly going out, right?
Yeah, so it's like, oh, this is kind of small, but then it does that, like the intimate, and then it gets vast, and then it's just descending, and then it opens up. So, but here's the thing about the Helios Hotel. I mean, they have like a, what do you call it, like a rooftop bar up there, and so that's going to be, I'm sure, a big hit. So you can look over everything. But I keep looking at the hotel. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. There's a hotel in the park, and in my head, when you look at a hotel, you think it's the front. And somebody was asking, well, how do they get the people that has all their bags and luggage? And I was like, oh, and I thought about, well, wait a minute, we're at the back of the hotel because the front, when you drive up, you don't see that. We're like, yeah. So technically, you're looking at the back,
the quote unquote other entrance, right? Because you're going into the park.
You're looking at the back of the hotel when you walk in, but in your brain, it's the front of the hotel because the way it's kind of curved.
That must mean it looks damn good. That's all I'm gonna say.
But
so
unreal.
I gotta. So let's go clockwise, and we'll start out because you said that Nintendo World, or the World of Nintendo, is the first to stop, land, so to speak.
On your left.
On your left. So at Universal Hollywood, the Nintendo portion is very, very small. And the only major ride there is the Super Mario Kart ride. They don't have Donkey Kong. And so they only have
the honest one.
Yeah. Now tell us, how many attractions are in the Nintendo portion? Because that Donkey Kong ride, I saw the AI mock-ups of it and everything, and just the illusion of jumping off the track and everything just looks nuts.
Yes.
I want to see that.
Crazy.
Exactly. So I think there's three. There's the Bowser's, the challenge, the Mario Kart ride, the Donkey Kong ride, and there's Yoshi Adventures, which is for like the smaller ones. And there's also Toadstool Cafe. There's actually a quick service restaurant in there. And speaking of quick service restaurant, that's another, I guess I would say, innovative thing. So they have a full service restaurant called the Atlantic, full service seafood restaurant at the front of the park. But everywhere else, every area has a restaurant quality feel, but it's quick service. It's a hybrid. So you go to your table and you scan the QR code and you order on the app, and someone just comes and brings you your food. And it's just like that. It's quick service, but it's also sit down restaurant style. And the food, I haven't had the food in Mario yet, but I've had food elsewhere that was it felt like I was in a restaurant.
Don't know why I'm only picturing like a pile of mushrooms on my plate with Mario and like fire
Apparently,
flowers.
there's a lot of mushrooms.
Lots of salads.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a lot of mushroom infused food at Toastal Cafe. So I've heard about that. I haven't had it, but yeah, I mean, it fits the theme. But so when you first go to the Super Mario World, you have the portal, and every portal has like a saying, like the catchphrase or the theme. And for Mario, it says, no, it says, "Here we go." So it says, "Here we go." Yeah. And on the ground, you have like the invincible star and like rainbow areas, and just the whole portal itself is just highly themed. All the characters.
Warp tube, isn't it?
It's a warp tube, and it's an escalator going up, and it makes the warp sounds as you're going up the escalator. And then as soon as you hit the escalator, then it's just this whole land of Mario. You'll see like turtles, going back and forth, and you hear all the sounds and the sights, and the castle is on your left. So if you go towards your left, the Bowser's Challenge, and it's a castle in itself. It's like the queue, the lines of all the rides are so intricately themed. You are just like, how is this a line?
It's the ride.
The ride. I mean, the line itself is. I mean, and that's how it is with all the theme parks in Orlando, where like I started out at Six Flags over Georgia, where it's just the line was only just wait in line, and they might have a TV of random music videos and random Looney Tunes shorts, whatever. But you just waited in line. Then of course Disney and Universal and all the theme parks here, the line is part of the story. So Universal with Epic Universe dialed it up.
And those were always the things I loved about going to Disney World. Like when you're hanging out waiting to go in like Muppet 3D back when, in the like early 90s, they got the old guys yelling at you in the front and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Statler and Waldorf.
Star Tours, you have R2D2 and C3PO out in the queue area there, doing a bit and whatnot. But now they've gotten to the point where even like Mr. Potato Head and the freaking are like making fun of you because it's really an actor behind the quote unquote puppet.
Yes.
I'm very happy to hear that Universal's gotten into that ballpark, because the last time I'd been to Universal Studios was like right when the Men in Black ride came in. So it's been a long time since I got there, and that was an epic, awesome thing to begin with. I loved it. It was great. Still is a great ride.
Well, I was so I'm glad you mentioned Men in Black. Talk about how Universal dialed things up. So I was at Universal a couple weeks ago with some friends out of town. We did Men in Black, and that elevator sequence where it feels like you're going down, where it's just like kind of rattling. But so imagine you go from there, and you haven't seen this, Craig, but Tommy might have. Right next door at Diagon Alley, the Wizarding World, there's a ride called Gringotts, and when you get to the ride, there's an elevator portion, but they took from Men in Black and just dialed it up a bit. So now the elevator bounces a bit, and it has like screens up above your head, so it feels like you're descending below the ground. So it took the Men in Black elevator.
Now you're getting into my level, because one of my favorite immersion rides was I was always a big fan of the Tower of Terror. I loved the whole Twilight Zone bit. I loved all the creepiness to it. That's just a little bit, but enough to be fun. But it was like that immersion, and all of a sudden, just like even like a lot of ride queues in like a freaking burned out basement boiler room kind of thing.
Yes,
it was odd.
Craig, I got to tell you, I've told people this. I've been in theme parks for most of my life. And I've always told people Tower of Terror has been one of my all-time favorite rides when it comes to immersion and theming from start to finish. And like even like the little details for like when you're on the basement level and when you're on the ride, there's a letter B, but when the doors separate, those B's make a 1 and a 3, 13, which is like little things.
It's the silliest little things. That's where you're going here with what's going on with the Epic Universe stuff. Because like I said, this is no ding against Universal for what they've been doing for years. I always loved the parks, and I loved the Spider-Man rides and all the other stuff that they did. It was just a really good thing, but it was such a one shot. To your point, it wasn't like the full immersion piece. It was like, okay, great, you went in the ride, you went in the queue, you're out. There was no what's going on around it. And that's what this whole thing sounds to me, that you've taken some of the things that Disney's done with Star Wars and whatnot, and now you've turned it, like you said, up to 11 to fully immerse yourself into it.
Yes, and then there's the elements of like the full immersion, and to get the full effect of full immersion, the Wizarding World has always kind of pioneered that, as far as in Diagon Alley.
That was cool.
Diagon Alley,
the beginnings of that.
So Diagon Alley, you can't see any other part of the park in Diagon because it's fully immersive. So they carried that over to Epic Universe with the Wizarding World, which is set in the Paris area in the 1920s, kind of set in the world of Fantastic Beasts. So think of like at Epcot, they have their France Pavilion. So imagine that scaled up, but everything is, all the buildings are taller, wider, but it's enclosed in, so you can't see any part of Epic Universe inside the streets of France.
And that's the cell. That is the cell.
And you can't see anything else in it.
I think they refer to that as, what is it, forced perspective? So you're just, you can't see anything else but what you're in, basically.
Well, also forced perspective makes things seem wider and bigger than they are. Like if you're going further down the road, things get kind of smaller or more narrow, to make it the illusion of depth.
I don't know why my brain jumped to this point, but I just literally had a Looney Tunes moment go on in here when you were talking about that, where the Roadrunner paints the freaking like hole on the side of the canyon, and then he goes running through it, and then the coyote slaps into it. Because they have some of those weird things at Hollywood Studios that are literally a forced perspective. You're walking down the hallway, and it's like, oh, you're in Manhattan, and it's just a long shot, but a very, very isometric piece to that whole thing, where you're talking about 4D, taking that a whole new level to your point here, because like you said, it's up, it's down, it's all over the place. There's nothing
everywhere you look.
Yeah,
that's why. So if you want to go back to the Legacy Park, Universal Studios in the New York street, if you look up at the building, the facades, the higher up you look, the smaller and more narrower the windows are to give the illusion of height.
Really, and also, going like this at the top, right?
or they'll be like this big. But when you look up there, I mean, it looks taller than it is. And then the buildings are technically the same height, but they will build an extra, top to one of the buildings, so it gives the illusion that they're not the same height, but they are. Yeah. So imagine they once scaled it up at Epic Universe, they took that concept and just let's dial this up.
I think it's fun how you talked about these kind of things too, because I just had this other weird moment in my head too. It's like, okay, Disney's got the one castle. You already told me you got one in Mario World. I know you got one already kind of basically in the Harry Potter area. It's like, okay, great. Just going to say, hey, you know what? Fine. You got your one castle. We got 4 or 5 of them now. It's
well, I mean, when Hogsmeade first opened, when the first iteration of Wizarding World opened some time ago, there was like a headline in one of the newspapers that said, "Move over, there's a new castle in town." So yeah, we had our Hogwarts castle versus the Cinderella castle. Huh?
Go ahead, Craig.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I got to tell you, it's insane, and we can talk about attention to detail all day long, but
man.
So let's go to the rides. So we got the rides in Nintendo Land. So
let me go over. Oh, Tom, you didn't go. So Donkey Kong ride. So well, first of all, there are a lot of stairs in Super Mario Land. So after the Bowser's challenge, you go downstairs and you go to the back of the area, and Donkey Kong Country is its own area back there. It's all like tropical looking, and as soon as you walk in, not even like a minute or so, you'll see like a coaster jump the track, and you're just like, what? Like how? What? And how did they? And then you get on this ride. Yeah, it's exactly like you said, Tommy. It looks like the tracks are broken. Like it's like up and to the left, and you're like, how are they going to do that? But you go down and to the right, and
To me, it looked like the minecart from Indiana Jones. Like,
Yeah.
okay, great. Now we just took that to a cartoon animated level for like a video
But
game,
you're right,
and now
though.
we're all set.
It does, and it kind of jostles you around a bit. It's not like a lot of roller coasters we have are smooth, but that one you will bounce around a bit
Like
because
doing it on purpose a little bit.
it's that nature of because it's kind of a frantic, like it looks like everything is broken, and it made me think of there was this joke a long time ago that it might have been like Carrot Top or whatever this comedian said would be like the funniest concept for a roller coaster is a coaster called Under Construction, where it feels like you're riding a coaster that's still being built, where the tracks are
That's
kind
kind of
of,
what this sounds like.
or as soon as a ride takes off, there's a mechanic like, wait, So the Donkey Kong ride reminds me of you're on the ride, but there are tracks. It doesn't look like it's complete, or it's broke, or one of the characters just kind of picked it up, and you're like, well, how in the world?
Donkey Kong walking around,
and then but you go in the opposite direction. So like the track goes up and to the left, and you go down and to the right, or you go the opposite direction of whatever the track is doing. So it kind of messes with your head a bit. And then you hit that jump where you kind of feels like you're jumping the track, but it's the illusion.
I saw the renderings of it, and they, how they show the AI render and how the mechanism works and everything.
The
it's
concept.
just like, I'm just like,
I love that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what the ride is actually on.
Engineering nerd in me go.
Yeah. So did you get to ride? You got to ride those rides, correct?
Yeah, I got to ride it a few times. Yeah, what the ride is actually on. The tracks you're seeing aren't the tracks you're actually on.
Yeah,
it's the illusion that everything is below. Exactly, everything's below it. So I'm like, what a brilliant concept of what you're seeing is not what you're on, but it feels like it though.
Physics of that are mind-boggling to me because now you got a car that's all the way down here with basically a big J hook, right? That's holding the real ride vehicle. I was on this sitting here going, I'm okay if I push here, it goes, right? It's a fulcrum. I don't want to know the amount of freaking engineering and logic and everything that had to keep that thing stuck to the main track underneath it in a proper orientation.
Right.
So when we go to this, so we got the Bowser's Challenge, which is the Mario Kart.
The Mario Kart ride, yeah.
We got Donkey Kong. Now, what are the? You said there's other two. There's like a Yoshi's, which is like a kid's
Yoshi's.
ride.
It's more like the little ones. Like I didn't ride. You can see it. It looks like you're riding on a Yoshi and just kind of going around. It's something for like the little ones. I didn't get a chance to ride it. Just see it.
Like Dumbo's the Dumbo ride.
No, it's like going. It's not like in a circle like the old Dumbo ride. It's like kind of. Just kind of moving right along, kind of going through like it's traveling.
Oh, okay.
So it's a traveling ride.
Closer to a car ride.
Huh?
Closer to a car ride, I guess. It
sounds
like
yeah.
Track a little bit. That's kind of like just cruising along.
Yeah, you're kind of cruising along, nothing too crazy. I was gonna ask Tommy for our. I don't know if it's the same for our Mario Kart ride. I don't know if it's like Hollywood. But they give you a Mario hat in the line
with the goggles, yeah.
But the goggles you don't get until you're actually on the vehicle, and it clips on magnetically.
Yeah.
So it's tethered to the ride.
Yes.
Okay. It's the same.
Yeah. They give you the visor type thing, and then then when you get onto the actual car, you snap it in with the Okay.
I decided. So I rode it a few times, and one of the rides I decided just to not wear the AR goggles, just to see how much enhancement. And it's. I will say this though, the Luigi's Mansion portion of it is so crystal clear, even without the AR. It looked amazing, just the chandelier swinging, and I was like,
so there's some real to the AR. Anyway,
it's real, yeah. I mean, you definitely want to get the AR on
between it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not using it as a crutch. It's like an enhancer. But you want to have the AR on because you keep track of, you can see how many turtles you have, how many points you have, and there's a fuller immersion. We talked about that immersion aspect, but you could take it off and still have a pretty good ride. I mean, you still can do, but they didn't skimp out on like the details or like the clarity of the video with or without it. You'll still have a pretty good experience, but obviously you want to have the whole thing on, especially when you get the Rainbow Road and just everything.
Yeah, Craig, I'm telling you,
I will go. That's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. I have friends down there.
We gotta
just like
Gene. Figure this out. We gotta figure this out. We're gonna talk to Gene because I've been to Hollywood, and the Hollywood thing is it's awesome, but you want to talk when you go through the the portal, so to speak, to go to the, but it's seriously, it's teeny tiny, and all you really got when you get into that Mario world or that Nintendo world is you got Bowser's Castle, and that's the only ride. But then you got like a kids like play area, and you got a restaurant, and then you got a bunch of shops.
It seemed Well,
here's the other thing too. Bowser's Castle doesn't look like a castle from the outside. It doesn't have this big castle. You just walk in, and you're like, oh, I'm in a castle right now. But your brain isn't ready for it because you're not prepared, because it doesn't look like a Hogwarts. It doesn't look like it just looks like, oh, there's Bowser's Challenge, and then you go in, you're like, get out of here.
You walk through his mouth.
It's like one of those things. The princess is in the other castle. Yeah, like you walk in, it's like
you can see like the Junior Koopas and like the little Easter eggs to other Mario games, like in the castle. And you're just like, this is unreal. So you go through all that, and then you come back out to Celestial Park, and now you're back.
I was gonna say, I need to move to another park here. We only got
because
yes, now we'll go. So, but on the way to Mario, you're gonna have this pizza place called Pizza Moon. Once again, it's a quick service, but it's a sit-down restaurant style. And then there's the Oak and Star Tavern, which is a barbecue place, and I visited multiple times because they have this
barbecue.
The barbecue's pretty good, but they have this mango cornbread that blew my mind. Yeah,
there you go.
Mango cornbread.
I love cornbread to begin with. If you throw a little mango in that sounds delicious.
Mango glaze, and then it's a barbecue place where they have 4 barbecue sauce on your table, so you could, to your heart's squirt. So they barbecue ribs, brisket, macaroni cheese, and then they have a bar in there called the Plastered Owl, so you can get a full service. You have to walk up to the bar; they're not going to deliver it to you.
That name. That's about like my buddy wanted to name his bar the Cork Squirrel, and it was just because of how the squirrel get in the bottle. Maybe he got a little too drunk one night and just shot.
So the Plastered Owl is in the Oak and Star brew house. It's like a brew house tap room feel. Once again, feels like a restaurant. I mean, you sit in a booth, but you order on the app.
Is this in the Celestial Park area, or is
Celestial Park? So right now, so after you come out of Mario, you're gonna keep walking like clockwise. You're gonna go past the pizza place called the Pizza Moon. So then there's the Oak and Star Tavern tap room, and then you come across Dark Universe,
which is the one that people in the chat are asking about on Instagram. So this to me on the Universal front is like one of the biggest, I'll say it, F-ups of all time. They've had this amazing universe that they can play with in the modern world that we see with all these franchises with Universal monsters and everything, and they haven't on screen done a lot. So when I heard this, that was the one that stood out to me. I was like, okay, that could be really damn cool.
Bringing back the intellectual property that they have and using it.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, Tommy. So there's there's so much detail. I mean, Dark Universe, everything is so cool. But I had the privilege of being able to take a VIP tour during one of my earlier visits, and one of the coolest things I learned on that tour was in Darkmoor. And to Tommy's point about Universal being the innovators, the originators to the modern horror movie. So when you go into Dark Universe, the town's called Darkmoor, and when you walk through like the town square, the middle of the area, on the left, there's a bunch of like bricks, and on one of the bricks on the left it says 428. Now there's a double meaning. 428 is the founding of Darkmoor. It's been there since 428, BC or whenever. 428. 428 is also April 28th, which is the birthday of Carl Laemmle Jr. So Carl Laemmle Sr. is one that founded Universal, like the original, like our Walt Disney, so to speak. Carl Laemmle Jr., his son, ran Universal when they had their renaissance of Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein. So Jr. was the one that, hey, we need to do more monster movies, and that's what got, what made Universal Universal. It saved them from the Depression, and Universal is the inventors of the horror movie. Now, on top of all that, that brick that says 428 on it, it's at the corner of the building. So it's a little cornerstone of this building. Yeah.
I see what you're talking about here. That's the detail. That's awesome. That's really cool.
And you just look at it, you just see 428. Okay, whatever, 428. Nope, it's the birthday of Laemmle Jr., who was at the head of the studio during the monster craze.
So
is still there.
How many rides or rideable attractions are in this area? Because I know that Craig is seeing. I'm not seeing it because I don't have it up, but he's seeing like people chatting and asking about this. How many attractions are there? And out of your opinion, which is the one that people have to see? If they ride nothing that day and just stay in that line, what is the line that they need to see?
Yeah, I mean, above all, like out of all of Epic Universe, there are a few must do. Like if you only do a couple of things, this is one of them, and it's at Frankenstein's Manor, and it's the Monsters Unchained ride, which is at the Victoria Frankenstein, which I guess the great granddaughter of Victor Frankenstein, carrying on the family's legacy, the family's work. So to answer your question, there are two.
Frankenstein doing it. Dr. Frankenstein.
So, and they refer to.
I can see that too.
Yeah, they refer to him as the monster. But just to back up a little bit here, before I get too far, to answer your earlier question, there are two attractions there. There's the Monsters Unchained, and then there's the Curse of the Werewolf. The Curse of Werewolf. Let's do that one first. It's a roller coaster. In the mid range, so it's not like a crazy, insane, loop roller coaster, but it's an innovative coaster in itself. So it's two to a row, but there's also people behind you facing the other direction, so you kind of make up one vehicle, but those vehicles can turn independent.
I saw those, yes.
So they could, you could turn, and it's doing it on its own, like momentum, whatever the scientific term is for that. So just kind of, but you're going on. I mean, but there's a bunch of you, on. So you're not just, four of you. There's like a bunch of people on. It's hard to explain. Like this one big ride vehicle, but each vehicle is made up of four people facing out. So there's one,
sounds
2,
like
3,
Teacups
4, 5,
gone mad, man.
It is, yeah. So you're going on a coaster thing, and there's and one thing I love too, all of our coasters now, they have launch elements that are all magnetic. So you can see where it looks like white, like giant white cards in the middle of the track. Those are like the
magnets.
It launch. So it launches you, and then you'll go like up a hill, but you're also turning in another direction. You're going another, and so it's not the same ride twice because it's going to have different physics depending on how heavy or how light, or if you're in the front, if you're in the back.
I want to say that the
it's
Hulk ride was one of the ones that was the first ones to really do the magnet thing, if I
no,
recall.
actually, the Hulk is using. I learned this because I was a VIP tour guide at one point.
Yeah.
The Hulk is actually using. If you remember those old baseball pitching machines with the wheels.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
I knew it was
Drop it
something
in it.
different. I couldn't remember what it
Yep.
was.
Yep, is the
No, but yeah,
VelociCoaster is the one that
magnets.
the magnets. VelociCoaster. That's the one that's using the technology of the launch. That's not using it's funny to go back a bit. When I worked at Six Flags over Georgia, we had a ride called the Viper, which was just one loop. It would just launch you one loop, and then you would go up, and then you would go backwards and do the loop backwards, and then come back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they used a catapult like we used on the aircraft carriers. It was it was
why
like a
not?
shuttle.
It's there
That-
already. You can buy it off the shelf. It's not cheap.
I mean, yeah, but they used it, and I remember being very loud in there. So, and then I ended up working on aircraft carriers, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, I've seen this before." So, but at least now the accelerations, very whisper quiet, because they're using that. So the Curse of the
You know,
Werewolf
how much power is going through that. I'm
is
telling you
a
that
lot
right
of
now.
power.
It's not a fun math. I've done that math.
Yeah. So yeah, he did the
Holy
math. They did the monster math. The monster math.
Yeah, the more
Yeah.
Curse of
Yeah,
the
so-
Werewolf.
Yeah,
All right.
the Curse of the Werewolf. It's also a short ride too. Just when you be like, oh my gosh, and then boom. So it's like kind of just enough to whet your appetite, and then
short and sweet.
so you're coming back in. Here's another attention to detail. As you're going to the Curse of the Werewolf ride, you'll see footprints in the ground that are human, and then it starts turning into werewolf tracks.
Turning it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
See,
Why not?
that's badass.
Great.
That's badass. Now,
It's a
now I've only seen little like snapshots of the Curse of the Werewolf cars, not people actually on it. So, because I think some of the people that got these sneak previews, are obviously employees, so they weren't allowed to actually show any footage of their actual rides that they were on. But they would do some show some of the stuff that's like in the queues and like the pre-ride shows. So is there like the big one that's got the animatronics? Is that Monsters Unleashed, or is that
that's the Monsters the Unchained Unleashed? Yeah, that's the one that has all like the monsters and the animatronics of the monster of Frankenstein's monster. It's just so smooth and so like he comes out and the light is too bright and he's doing that, and Victoria's like, all right, enough of the lights, and then it's just such fluid motion.
That's great.
So the animatronic, and then it's just like this is the future. But let's I want to say back up or go forward a bit. So more innovations. The locker systems. So this one, you will, have, the free locker systems that we've had. Now, in years past, we've had like the fingerprint lockers, and now it's, currently in the legacy parks, it's scan the barcode and the locker's open. Epic Universe, it's all about the picture. It takes your picture. That's your identification.
Wow.
So it takes a picture, then you confirm, and then the locker pops open, and then you put your things in. And just like VelociCoasters, the lockers are on the other side. It's not, you don't come back to the same spot. So you hit open locker, it recognizes your face, pops open, and then you grab your things. Now in the Frankenstein's manor, it's dark, and like there's no way, especially being dark skinned, we're not going to show it because there's no flash on it. And I'm like, there's no way it's going to recognize my face. And sure enough, it picked it up. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then the other side, it recognized, I don't know how it did it. And so all the rides that require lockers are now photo. There's no more scanning. It's just
so even in the legacy parks, their facial scans are they
no.
still
Well, they're doing the facial scan at the front gates. So if you've been to the park before, like annual pass, or if you're a team member, Now you just go to the front of the park and just your ticket's in your pocket or your ID's in our pocket. It just scans your picture. All right, you're good to go. You're like, I didn't even scan my. So
Okay.
yeah. So if you've been to the parks before and it scans your face, it now recognizes your face for things. So
Nice.
so they've now brought that to the lockers. So at the Frankenstein or we call Monsters Unchained, the lockers is now using that, as well as all the other locker systems that we'll get to. But
working in a technology field, I get exactly what you're talking about, because vision systems in general are the bane of my existence in the automation field, because they are just, well, the biggest problem is everybody thinks that they're a great mechanical fix for what should have been a mechanical fix. So, but there's so many different filters you can put on things, or different light you can project that you and I can't see. So it wouldn't shock me if it's just using something like infrared that you and I doesn't hurt your eyes or anything in the darker areas, and it's bathing you with light even though you don't see it.
right,
I mean?
I mean, I've had a chance to test that. I was this months ago, because I do a lot of background extra work, and I had answered. I was available for this. It was under the guise of background extra work, but they were actually testing out that facial recognition on an offsite, not actual, but on a not even near the parks. It was just a mock-up.
Play it with it first.
And they had us, and they had us wearing sunglasses and hats, and then they would lower the light each time we kind of came through, so it could see if it could recognize us with glasses, no glasses, hats, no hats, lower lighting, and it was so funny because it wasn't being filmed, but they were using a lot of us as we were background extras, but no, we were test subjects. So I actually saw it before it actually went online. So I'm like, oh, I've done this before. I know what to, do. So,
As
yeah.
engineers, we got to test stuff before we can break it again, and then fix it again, and then re-break it.
Yep.
This is how it works.
Yep. You keep at it until you can't do it no more.
So we got to push a little bit because we're spending, because we're running late. So we now are in the we're going clockwise. We are now leaving this awesome Monster Mash place, Darkmoor, and now we're going into which park?
Now you're back in the Helios. You're back at Celestial Park, but now you're at the back of the park. Now you're going by the Grand Helios Hotel. So you walk past the Helios Hotel, and now you're at the Wizarding World. Now you are at Paris, 19, I think 20s or 30s. So everything is retro theme. And you walk in, and it's just Paris. It's the streets of Paris. There's, shops and all the signs are in French. Everything is French. I mean, you will need like a Google Translate.
I'm gonna need my Google Translator.
Yeah. And I wanted to do it so bad, but during the previews we couldn't use our phones, so you keep your phones away. But I'm like, I can't wait to translate.
There's some of those Easter eggs in there too.
Because
if they stuck it into literally a cornerstone.
Yes. I know there's so many Easter eggs that are all in French, but I just can't pull my phone out without looking like I'm taking a picture. So I mean, now we can take pictures, but back then I was like, man, I know there's a lot.
Surprise.
A lot of signage. So when you walk right into it's like the streets of Paris, and this is where we come across our first show, and the show is called Cirque de Arcanu, and it's a show that kind of runs parallel or in the same storyline as Fantastic Beasts. So they do make reference to Newt Scamander and his suitcase, which has, I don't know if you watch Fantastic Beasts, but they make reference.
I haven't gotten that one yet myself.
Oh yeah, they just make reference to that. So you don't have to be familiar with it, but if you are, it's really nice to be familiar with Newt Scamander and his that magic suitcase that he has, and that's all I'll say about that. But that show,
have fun with it.
It's a fun show. It's a great show. It's circus elements, but it's also a story too. So, and it feels like a circus.
If I'm wrong, don't they consider that part canon to the Harry Potter universe in this whole thing too? That was That was like a whole piece of this I remember reading at one point.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, you will see like house elves in there. There's, there's references to the Quidditch. There's, the wand usage in the show. So yes.
There you go.
So we're talking about the attention to detail, and even in Hogsmeade, there are like interactive things within the, like, you knock on the door, and if you knock on the door, you can actually see creature in window come through, and just, so, and I know that you can get the interactive wands, and you stand on the little place, and if you do the wand movements correctly, something will happen in the windows and stuff.
They've dialed it up now.
Also, there you go.
So they dialed up the interactive wands. Everything you loved about the wands, they've now cranked it up. So now you can sync it with your phone on the app, so it keeps track. There are games now you can able to keep track of your spells. And there's a game within the game, just like at Super Nintendo Land. There's now kind of an interactive wand. I don't even know what the game or the objective is, but it now will keep track of. But this is just the second generation wand, so you have to buy a second generation wand for this to work. They now have somebody in the window, like how they have the talking pictures. They now have somebody that talks to you in real time, and that knows what spells you've cast. They're like, oh, really? I see you cast. Yes, they know which spells you cast. They're like, oh, we see you did, Aloha Mora or whatever.
Well, nobody's tracking you, Tommy. Don't worry about it.
No. So if I bought a wand, when I went
the second gen,
and I bought a wand at the, so you need a second generation wand now to do this, or can I bring my old wand and do the stuff in this new Wizarding World part?
It is, to my understanding, like there's some things you can do, but you won't be able to do everything with the first generation wands. Like you won't be able to sync up your phone, but you might be able to do some elements. But you really want the second generation to get the full effect of the things you can do in the windows. And once again, they scale things up again. So you'll be doing something in the windows, and all of a sudden a creature will pop up that you didn't see before. Out of nowhere, you'll see a creature. You'll see an empty chair. You do a spell, and boom, there's a big white furry creature. You're like, that wasn't big. And then it disappears again. Yeah.
So how many rides are in this area? Is it just the one, or is it?
It's just one, but I haven't rode it yet. But let me tell you about it. So it's the Battle at the Ministry. So what they've been doing is they've been opening the queue, even though the ride's not open, because the queue, Craig, Tommy.
That's what I saw the pictures of. That's all the mirrors and
when they say you're not ready, you will not be ready when you just walk into the queue. Well, first of all, you're going through like the flu network, flu powder.
Yeah.
So you're going through like a chimney, and all this kind of fog, almost like you're a wrestler with your entrance, and there's lights and there's fog, and you go through the fog, you kind of come out, and then you're in this. Hold on 1 second.
So all I'm hearing is the glass broke. Huh?
Yeah. So you feel like you're like in the world of Harry Potter. You're going through this network, and then you're once again. Remember how I mentioned how it's intimate but vast. Everything's really small.
Yes.
It opens up. That whole area just opens up, and you're just like, how is this that big? It is, yes. It's like it's bigger on the inside. It like defies logic. Like
TARDIS.
How is this? And it's going over the trial of Dolores Umbridge, and so it's like the trial of the century. So you have like all these like offices where everybody is not in there because they're seeing the trial of the century. But walking through that queue, and it's an extensive queue. You're walking through and you're like, how is this just a line?
Yeah.
It doesn't end, but you're just looking at so many amazing. You just keep looking up, and it's just your whole time. You're just jaw dropping, innovative. Like, this is changing the game of how you view theme parks, like waiting in a line. It's just spectacular. And just keep walking through, and just, oh my goodness, oh my god. And then and then next thing you know, you're in the gift shop. It's just like, I have to buy something now.
Because that's where they all end.
I gotta get my
Magical World
okay.
gift shop.
So before we move on to the next part, because we're running out of time here, or well, actually we're over time, but it doesn't matter. We always do this anyway.
I am.
Just don't want to go too far.
So what house do you belong to?
I am Hufflepuff.
You're a Hufflepuff.
Yes.
I actually thought I was a Ravenclaw for a while. When I was there, I took an online that said I was a Ravenclaw, but I took the actual one because we went to see The Cursed Child in New York City a couple weeks ago, and we found out is canon. So I actually took the quiz that they have, and I turned out that I'm not a Ravenclaw. I'm a Gryffindor. So
hey,
there you go.
So when we do our Harry Potter episode, I'm going to make Craig get sorted into his house. So we're leaving the Wizarding World.
Wizarding World next. The final one is the Isle of Berk from How to Train Your Dragon. Now this has the most attractions, I feel like, in one area, because it has like a coaster, like Hiccup's wing glider, but then it also has this kind of, I don't know how to even explain it, this dragon. It's something I had never seen before. So it's not a roller coaster, but there's this. So you sit in a seat and you have these wings to your left and right of you, and the joysticks, and you can move them up and down, and it moves in a circle, like big circle, and you could kind of turn with your wings, and you could try to turn yourself all the way upside down while the ride
like a jacked up flight sim. Like it's not a flight sim for not a plane, right? It's
it's trying to ride the dragon. It's slowly moving, maybe like a 45-degree angle, but you're moving, maybe I think 3 rotations. But you could, you could turn yourself. If you do it just right, you could turn yourself upside down, because you have the freedom to move. Really but cool. It's a challenge. So I forget the name of that particular ride, but then they have another ride called the Fire Drill, which is a boat ride, and you can get each other wet. You can spray water on other people. So
why not? So it's like, it sounds like that was the only thing they were missing here was a water ride of some sort.
The water element, and then they have a show called the Untrainable Dragon, which is another story in the world of How to Train Your Dragon, another mind-blowing show. So the Isle of Berk has like a lot. It has all these attractions. It has a kids' play area. It has a quick service restaurant, the Mead Hall. It has a show, and it also has a lot of food stands too.
This is the one I saw the video of that it was clearly like they skinned those Boston Dynamics yellow robots that were walking around as dragons all over the place. And I'm like, okay, well, that's clever. That's a great idea for those things. They're autonomous. They wander around. They can interact with people. And what's Dragon World without dragons? You can't do that.
They have like that dragon that is like a puppy that kind of will kind of do things on command. With this trainer, obviously, this trainer is right there,
so now that I want to talk a little bit before we go, because I want to touch base. So obviously, Universal is losing some intellectual properties to Disney. One of which would be The Simpsons. They had a really cool Simpsons area. What is
land, basically,
now?
Right?
I've heard rumors, and I don't know if this is true. Maybe you have a little bit of insight on it. Are they changing? I know that they're starting to actually take the Simpsons stuff out, and are they going to change it to a Pokemon themed area now in the Legacy Park? Is that true?
Right now, there's nothing. It's still the Simpsons area. They haven't announced anything at all. So there's nothing that they've put out that says anything is changing. So as far as I know, I mean, it's. I mean, I was there today. The Simpsons area is still there. There's nothing that's been taken out. There's still the ride. There's still the food court area. So as of now, but once again, they haven't announced.
Are we going to be
same thing with the Marvel stuff at the end of the day, right? Because Spider-Man, the Doom stuff, all that, the Hulk.
Hulk. Are they going to rebrand those rides?
They're going
Yeah.
So from what was from my limited understanding is Universal Orlando is a different agreement than Universal Hollywood. Universal Hollywood had to get rid of their Marvel, but they had a different agreement. So Universal Marvel agreement is an agreement they've had since 98, 99. This isn't a brand new thing. So they have of an ironclad agreement.
There's an inside edge.
I don't know all the details of it, but Disney can't really do anything about that particular area. So there's nothing. But Hollywood, they could have, and it's
probably going to make it harder to do new stuff there.
That's the catch. There it is.
Much the existing stuff.
There lies the rub. Yeah.
When we went to
cool
Disneyland, when we went to Disneyland, they have California Adventure, which is right across the little walkway there. We did not go to that. Now they changed their Tower of Terror to an Avengers themed ride.
Yeah, Guardians.
And that's part of their
Cosmic Breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Breakout.
The Avengers, the Avengers campus, I think it's that area. So, but that ride is, I guess it's still the Tower of Terror, but it's just
themed
Guardians of Galaxy themed. Whereas you go to Epcot in Orlando, they got a completely different ride for the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I've ridden that ride. It's an awesome ride.
So,
but I'm just curious about those intellectual properties. So it's completely different from Universal Hollywood and Orlando.
That whole east of the Mississippi, so different agreements. So yeah, Universal they have that. But once again, like the correct point, it's gonna be frozen in time. It's gonna be that way. But I have one more thing I didn't get to tell you guys. The grand finale of Epic Universe. If you do only one thing at Epic Universe, if you only do one ride, you must do the ride that will change your life, and that is the Stardust Racers. It's in Celestial Park. There's no IP attached to it. It is the best coaster you will ever ride in your life, and here's why. Do you remember old school Islands of Adventure? I don't know how far back you go with Islands of Adventure. We used to have a roller coaster called Dueling Dragons, and it was
yes.
So imagine the concept of Dueling Dragons, and it had a merging or baby with VelociCoaster. So imagine two coasters intertwining, but at the launch speeds and angles and impossible intricacies, they go in and out of each other. They go over and under, and they twist and they wind, and it will blow your mind.
That sounds like a ride that looking at it's going to make my wife sick.
1,000%. 1,000%. It has a bunch of launch elements. You'll be a lot of airtime, and each side is different. There's a yellow side and there's a green side. So you have to ride both if you can, if you can wait that long. But yeah, they race side by side, and there's like a double launch element. So you're launching, and then you launch so you're side by side racing.
It's like bang bang.
Yeah. And then you go over and under each other, and then, like I said, you intertwine, and then you break off and do your own thing, and then you meet up again, and then you launch, and then you
that sounds awesome. I remember that coaster. I loved the original one that you were talking about.
So Dueling Dragons, it took that concept of two coasters intertwining, but whether they added VelociCoaster elements to it, and that's if you only do one thing at Epic Universe, the Stardust Racer, you have to do it, and it's on the right hand side, right next to the Isle of Burke. Immediately, Once you do that, then everything else is icing on the cake, pretty much.
Sold.
Cherry on top.
That's it.
All
That's
right.
it. Stardust
All right.
Racers.
So,
Gotta do it.
man, damn, Gene, you know how it is, man. We get so much from you. We get so much from you, and we want more. I mean, feed us more.
We're gonna have a legacy day.
There's a lot more.
Yes. So shameless self plug. What do you got going on for us besides being on the next game show, which is Bingo Blitz with Valerie?
Bingo Blitz.
What else you got? What else you got going on?
Pretty much. I'll be hosting random events at City Walk coming up. Actually, tomorrow, the next 2 days, I'll be hosting events at City Walk. We have schools like elementary, basically school age performers like musicians that Universal provides a stage that they could perform on.
Nice.
And I'm one of the hosts. Kind of, please welcome to the stage all the way from, let's hear it for whatever school. So I'll be doing that the next 2 days.
Nice.
That's cool.
Today I worked at the Born Stuntacular. I'm still working at the Born Stunt Show, which is one of my favorite things to do. But yeah, so yeah, Bingo Blitz, and like I'll be hosting various things at City Walk coming up soon. And but I just can't wait for everybody to see the show. And a surprise I want you guys to see for Bingo Blitz, especially my mom. I can't wait for my mom to see Bingo Blitz because I promised her something, and hopefully I can follow through with this promise. Yeah, it's that. It's that. So Bingo Blitz, 7:30. Game Show Network. See if I can keep the promise to my mom.
Cut it out.
Hey, Gene Magee, this is the place to be. I'm telling you right now. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am a fan. I am a fan. I am a fan. And we appreciate you coming on the show. You are the unofficial third member of our group. Always. You are always welcome. Always welcome to the show, because I'm telling you, dude, you got stories for days, and you do the stuff that I'm trying to get myself into now. And anybody who follows me knows that I'm starting to take more chances, trying to take more opportunities to get out there and between you and Tim Sternberg, who's trivia chat, who's also a fan of the show, friend of the show, who's been on, it's like I've been taking those chances that I know that you guys did, and I ended up on Karen got the tickets, but we ended up on the Drew Barrymore show, and I won tickets to see Billy Idol and
Billy Idol
gets stuff. Yeah, and the thing is that, and I'm pointing towards my screen, which is where Craig is at right now. At least I don't know how it is on the other screen, but Knucklehead over here, Mike. Some people go this way and some people go this way. but Craig also is taking those chances and getting them out, and he's got now your third podcast that you're doing now. Eventually the TNC Random Fandom family is going to become a LLC, so we may just become a network. I don't know, whatever. Go ahead, Craig.
But to that point, as you mentioned, Tommy, that's the newest thing I've gotten going on. We're about 15 episodes in because of baseball season already. Blue Jays Daily News on Jay's Latest. It's a YouTube channel, part of the Fan Arc Network, and I am currently the head of content of that channel. I just take my video and go to the team, and they have fun with it.
Love it.
The nice part about that is the part I have trouble doing with this show and my other show. The social media stuff is taken care of.
Love it.
I gotta work on more with him to do more of the content, because I just do kind of like user generated stuff. I need to learn how to do the clipping so that we can get, because that's where all of our views really come from, are the clips. And we've been I think the last set of clips we really have are between Gene and Tim. those episodes. So
It's
your
my bad.
Nickelodeon episode and the game show episode is where we're basically stuck.
Not that I haven't made them into clips. It takes time to go from the clips to the social media, then to the world of the internet.
Well, the Nickelodeon clips that Mark Summers actually replied to our Nickelodeon clip.
I know.
Yep. So
awesome.
There you go. Would love to
real Mark Summers.
We need to get him. We need to get we need to get him. We need to get Brian O'Halloran from
from the floor. Yes.
From the floor.
Like shattered my record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shattered my record.
You know,
yes.
His best friends are now Call of Duty characters in Jay and Silent Bob.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Their skins.
Oh my God.
Stoochie Boochie. Just saying.
But,
but anyways, I think we got to wrap it up.
21 minutes over. Yeah. So we appreciate you as always, and thank you so much for coming on again and giving us some great content. You and as always,
great preview for everybody. Period.
Yes.
I barely got the food part out, so that's a whole nother thing for another podcast.
Gene over here, hype man.
Yes.
He is the
that's literally what I do.
So we'll talk offline to see if you can get us some those free passes again like last time.
Well,
there you go.
We'll see. We'll talk offline. That's gonna be a challenge.
Anyway. So on that note, thank you very much, everybody, for listening in to a wonderful evening of talking the wonderful new Universal parks and just having shenanigans and fun in general. So we appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you very much for the comments that we were all getting in the comments. It was great to see some this week. And thank you very much again to Gene Magee. Make sure you find him on Instagram and at 7:30 tomorrow night on
Game Show Network.
Game Show Network. Valerie Bertinelli.
Hopefully it's my episode. I don't know if it's my episode, so
we'll find out. If not, it'll be the following week at 7:30, or maybe the following.
Yeah, I think it might be doing like an every day at 7:30 thing too. So
even better. So it even comes quicker.
It might be quick. It might be this week. So yeah.
All right. We'll keep an eye out on it, and as usual, we'll just have our phones up to the TV going, "We saw Gene!"
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, everybody.
Anyways, if you miss us on our live shows every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, make sure you hit like, share, follow, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. Wherever you get your podcasting pleasures from, it will help us get to more fun and share the collective here with everybody in the place to be. That is the TNC Random Fandom Podcast. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night. Cheers.
Good night, everybody.